California is known for its open highways, coastal drives, and endless road trips. You can drive for hours through some of the most beautiful scenery in the country and never think twice about pulling over for gas. But here's the part most people don't talk about. There are certain cities along these same highways where experienced drivers don't casually stop. Not because every corner is dangerous, but because the risks are different. The kind of places where locals don't hang around gas stations after dark, where a quick stop can turn uncomfortable fast if you're not paying attention. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because in a state this big, knowing where to stop can matter just as much as knowing where you're going. And today, we're breaking down 10 California cities where many locals will quietly tell you the same thing. If you can, keep driving a little further. Stockton sits right in the heart of California's Central Valley, connected by Interstate 5 and Highway 99. It's one of the busiest travel corridors in the state, and millions of drivers pass through here every year without thinking twice. But spend a little time looking at the data, and a different picture starts to form. Stockton consistently ranks among cities with higher than average crime rates, especially when it comes to property crime. Vehicle theft, break-ins, and opportunistic crimes are a constant issue, particularly in areas near highway exits. And that's what matters for travelers. The gas stations right off Highway 99, especially on the south side, are where a lot of these incidents tend to cluster. Not all of them, but enough that locals have developed habits. You don't leave your car running, you don't walk away with your phone out, and you definitely don't linger longer than necessary at night. During the day, Stockton feels like any other busy city, but late at night, the difference becomes noticeable. That's why many experienced drivers choose truck stops along I-5 instead. More lighting, more people, more visibility. It's not about avoiding Stockton entirely. It's about understanding where you are and how quickly things can change depending on time and location. San Bernardino sits at a major crossroads in Southern California where Interstate 10 and Interstate 215 intersect. If you're driving across the Inland Empire, chances are you're passing right through it. And on the surface, it looks like a typical stop. Gas stations, fast food, busy roads. Nothing unusual. But statistically, San Bernardino has struggled with crime for years. Both violent and property crime rates remain significantly above national averages, with the vehicle theft being one of the biggest concerns. For travelers, that risk tends to concentrate around freeway exits and commercial strips, the exact places where people naturally stop. During the daytime, most stops are uneventful, but at night, things shift. Fewer people, less visibility, and a city where law enforcement resources have historically been stretched thin. Locals know the pattern. If you need gas late at night, you don't always stop here. You push a little further east to Redlands or west toward Rancho Cucamonga, where the environment feels noticeably different. That small decision can make a big difference. Compton is one of the most recognizable names in California, and its reputation has been shaped over decades. To be fair, the city has improved in many ways compared to its past. There's development, community investment, and real efforts toward change. But the numbers still tell a story that hasn't fully caught up to that progress. Crime rates, particularly violent crime and robbery, remain higher than average. And for drivers, the key factor is location. Compton sits between major freeways like the 105 and the 7010. These are routes thousands of people use daily, which means exits in this area are common stop points, and locals move differently here. If you pull into a gas station, especially after dark, you'll notice it. People are aware, quick, focused. You get gas, you leave. That's not panic, that's experience. It doesn't mean every stop is unsafe, but it does mean this isn't the place to relax, scroll your phone, or leave valuables visible in your car. Understanding that difference is what separates a smooth trip from a stressful one. Richmond sits along Interstate 80 and Interstate 580 in the Bay Area, making it a major pass-through city for drivers heading between San Francisco and Sacramento. It's also a city with a long and complicated history when it comes to crime. There has been real progress in recent years, especially with community-based programs that have reduced certain types of violence. That part often gets overlooked, but the improvement hasn't been evenly distributed. Areas near the highway corridors and industrial zones still experience higher crime activity, particularly when it comes to property crime and vehicle-related incidents. Gas stations near freeway exits are where this becomes relevant for travelers. During the day, everything looks normal, busy, active, functional. At night, it's different. Less movement, less visibility, and a higher chance of running into problems if you're not paying attention. Locals understand the balance. Richmond isn't a city to avoid completely, but it is a city where awareness matters, especially when choosing where and when to stop. Signal Hill is one of those places most people don't even realize they've entered. It's a small city surrounded entirely by Long Beach, and if you're driving through, it just blends in. But statistically, it stands out. For a city its size, Signal Hill has an unusually high rate of property crime. Vehicle break-ins and theft are among the most common issues, especially in commercial areas, and that's exactly where travelers end up. Gas stations, shopping strips, quick stop locations near major roads. What makes Signal Hill tricky is that it doesn't feel dangerous. It looks clean, quiet, and completely normal. That's what catches people off guard. You park your car, step inside for a few minutes, and come back to a broken window or missing items. It's not about visible danger, it's about patterns. And locals have picked up on those patterns. If you stop here, you stay aware. You lock everything, and you don't leave anything in sight. Because in places like this, the risk isn't obvious until it's already happened. Commerce is a city most people pass through without even realizing it exists. It's completely surrounded by Los Angeles and sits at the intersection of Interstate 5 and Interstate 710, two of the busiest freight corridors in the country. On the surface, it just looks like another part of LA, warehouses, traffic, gas stations, and shopping centers. But statistically, commerce stands out in a big way. Despite having a relatively small residential population, the city sees extremely high levels of property crime, and the reason is simple. There's a constant flow of goods, trucks, and people moving through the area. That creates opportunity for theft, for break-ins, for quick targeted crimes that happen fast and disappear even faster. The Citadel shopping area brings in heavy foot traffic from all over Southern California, and the surrounding gas stations and parking lots are where a lot of these incidents tend to happen. If you stop here, especially at night, you'll notice the pace. People aren't hanging around, they're moving with purpose. Because in a place built around movement and commerce, staying still too long isn't something locals tend to do. Marysville is a small city in Northern California, sitting near the junction of Highway 70 and Highway 20. It's the kind of place you might stop in without planning to. A quick gas break, a fast food stop, maybe just stretching your legs before getting back on the road. But Marysville has been dealing with long-term challenges that don't match its small size. Crime rates, especially for burglary and assault, have remained higher than expected for a city with a population this low, and limited resources have made it harder to keep up. What makes Marysville stand out isn't just the numbers, it's the atmosphere in certain areas, particularly around older commercial zones. There are stretches that feel quieter than they should be, businesses that have closed, areas where foot traffic drops off quickly after dark. It creates a different kind of environment. Not necessarily chaotic, but unpredictable. That's why many locals suggest heading across the river to Yuba City if you need to stop. It's not perfect, but the difference in energy is noticeable. Marysville is a reminder that sometimes it's the smaller cities you don't expect that require the most awareness. Vallejo sits along Interstate 80, one of the most heavily traveled highways in Northern California. It connects the Bay Area to Sacramento, which means constant traffic moving through day and night. And because of that, it's a natural stop for gas, food, and quick breaks. But Vallejo has been dealing with serious challenges for years. Crime rates, particularly violent crime and robbery, remain elevated compared to nearby cities. Property crime is also a major issue, with car break-ins and theft happening regularly. Part of the problem traces back to long-term financial struggles that impacted city services, including law enforcement resources. For drivers, the key concern is where these issues tend to show up. Gas stations near freeway exits and busy corridors are the most common points of risk, especially after dark. During the day, Vallejo has areas that feel completely normal, even enjoyable, especially near the waterfront. But at night, certain locations shift, and locals know it. If you're driving along I-80 and have the option, many will tell you to keep going, just a little further to nearby cities like Fairfield or Vacaville. Not because Vallejo is entirely unsafe, but because the difference in environment is noticeable enough to matter. Oakland is one of the largest cities in the Bay Area, and it's a place with incredible culture, history, and energy. But it's also a city where crime patterns vary dramatically depending on where you are. For drivers, the concern isn't the entire city, it's specific zones, particularly near freeway exits, gas stations, and high traffic corridors. Oakland has struggled with high rates of property crime, especially vehicle break-ins. In fact, it's one of the most commonly reported issues in the area. And the thing about these incidents is how quickly they happen. You step away from your car for a minute, and that's all it takes. For travelers unfamiliar with the city, it can feel normal at first. Busy streets, people around, nothing out of the ordinary. But locals move differently. They don't leave anything visible in their cars, not even for a second. They stay aware of their surroundings, especially at gas stations near major highways like I-880 and I-580. Oakland isn't a place to avoid entirely, but it is a place where understanding the environment can save you from a situation you didn't see coming. Bakersfield and Modesto might not have the same national reputation as bigger cities, but when it comes to highway travel, these two stand out for a different reason. Both sit along major Central Valley routes, especially Highway 99, which thousands of drivers rely on every single day. At first glance, they feel like typical stopover cities. Plenty of gas stations, fast food spots, and easy freeway access. But the data tells a more cautious story. Both cities have consistently dealt with higher than average crime rates, particularly when it comes to property crime. Vehicle thefts, break-ins, and quick opportunistic incidents are some of the most common issues reported. For travelers, the concern isn't the entire city, it's the areas right off the highway exits, where activity is constant and attention is limited. Locals already know the routine. If you stop, you stay alert. You lock your doors, keep valuables out of sight, and don't linger longer than necessary, especially after dark. Because in places like Bakersfield and Modesto, it's not about panic, it's about awareness and making smart, quick decisions on the road. At the end of the day, most places in California are completely safe to travel through. Millions of people do it every single day without any issues, but knowing where to stop, when to stop, and how to stay aware can make a huge difference in your experience. These cities aren't off limits, they just require a different level of attention. If you found this video helpful and want more real, data-driven breakdowns of California cities, make sure to subscribe to California Unlocked. We break down the truth behind places people think they know. And if you've ever had an experience at a highway stop that caught you off guard, drop it in the comments. Your insight might help someone else on the road. Stay aware, travel smart, and I'll see you in the next video.